Hello, everybody. This is Chris Hislop from the Montana World Affairs Council. Welcome to our new show, What, So What, Now What, where we connect you with international experts on the issue of the day. And in just 5 minutes, you become the expert. Today, we are very pleased to welcome Ambassador Joseph DeTrani. He was the U.S. Special Envoy for the six-party talks with North Korea and the U.S. representative to the Korea Energy Development Organization. He was an associate director of national intelligence and mission manager for North Korea and the director of the National Counter-Proliferation Center, while also serving as a special advisor to the director of national intelligence. Ambassador DeTrani, so good to see you. Welcome back to our show here. How are you doing? And
I'm doing.
I'm glad. I mean, maybe you can now tell us a little bit on the what, so what, now what of today's news, a launch of a cruise missile by North Korea. Over to you.
Thank you, Chris. It's great being back with you and everyone else. So, and thank you for the question. This is an important issue. North Korea, over the last few days, launched 2 cruise missiles. They had a significant distance, a capability of reaching 1,500 kilometers. These were sort of strategic in the sense that they could reach the whole of Japan. And as we know, cruise missiles work with engines, so it's not ballistic per se, so it flies low. That means missile defense will have a lot of problems trying to locate and intercept, if you will, a launch if it looks like it's going to be inimical and threatening to a particular country. And in this case, it's not only South Korea, it's Japan. But why is it of interest to us in the United States? Well, Chris, we've known over the last 2 years, since Hanoi in 2019, the failed Hanoi summit with former President Donald Trump, North Korea has continued to, if you will, produce fissile material for nuclear weapons. We also know that they have ICBMs that can reach the whole of the United States, in addition to the shorter range ballistic missiles. And now what they've shown is they have cruise missiles that could almost defy missile defense capabilities that could reach Japan. So what I think North Korea is telling us in a very stark way is that they're working on their, if you will, nuclear deterrence capabilities to include not only targets in South Korea, in Japan, but they could reach the whole of the United States, and they will not cease and desist until they get the US to respond in accordance with their demands, which are, if you will, the lifting of sanctions and security assurances, but also a path to normal relations. But look, Chris, let me be candid. They do want to be accepted as a nuclear weapon state, which is their ultimate objective. So what they're saying is, we're prepared to sit down and talk if you're prepared to give us what we want. And right now, I think the US correctly, and I think President Biden is correct in his approach. He's prepared to talk about all the issues. But with North Korea, we're saying complete verifiable denuclearization. That means dismantle all nuclear weapons. And what North Korea is doing is showing that they're building more nuclear weapons, and these weapons are becoming even more sophisticated, to include those missiles, those intercontinental ballistic missiles that could reach the whole of the United States, certainly Montana. So why should we be concerned? This is a nuclear weapon state, not part of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, a nuclear state that has gone rogue in many ways, is not dialoguing with anyone. It's closed its border even with China. So this has to be of concern to the United States, our allies, and our partners. And this is why President Biden is pushing to get a dialogue with North Korea, to tell them to cease and desist, to stop. Let's talk about coming to negotiations to peacefully resolve these issues, knowing that North Korea wants a normal relationship with the United States, but we will not accept them as a nuclear weapon state.
So, Ambassador, can I just ask you, in terms of the effect or why we should be concerned about the news today? Number one, obviously, you say a security threat with a capability that can reach the entirety of the United States. Just another question, irregardless of the development of these missiles, Montana here has extensive agricultural trade with many places in Asia. does news like this, do activities like this affect our economic and trade relations with Asia and the region?
So one point, Chris, what they displayed with their two, if you will, cruise missile launches is that they were a threat to now the whole of Japan, not the United States. They do have intercontinental ballistic missiles, but these cruise missiles now had a reach of 1,500 kilometers that could reach the whole of Japan. Certainly not the United States, but having said that, the intercontinental ballistic missiles can reach the United States, and we assess that they have miniaturized their nuclear weapons so they could put them on the tip of these intercontinental ballistic missiles. But also they could put them on the tip of, if you will, these cruise missiles that are a threat to Japan and certainly South Korea. Yes, and of course it affects the trade aspects, because North Korea with these nuclear weapons, and as they display these weapons, when they launch cruise missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, intermediate range ballistic missiles, when they have nuclear tests, what does it do? It lends itself to instability in the region, where countries do become concerned that there could be, if you will, conflict on the Korean Peninsula, and that could spread to other areas in the region. So this does have, if you will, economic trade aspects to it, because it lends itself, again, to the question of regional instability.
Ambassador, now that we understand the what and the so what of today's issue, can you give us your views on the now what? What can certain actors do, be that the president, the American administration, our foreign policy, ourselves as citizens, and maybe other people in the region who are affected by this news?
No, excellent question. I think the Biden administration, and they have an envoy who's working this issue, Ambassador Sung Kim, has reached out, has said to the North Koreans, also, I would assume going through China, because China has a lot of influence on North Korea, because North Korea relies almost totally on China for trade and if you will, economic assistance. The crude oil, the petroleum products, basically all come from China. So China has a lot of influence. And I think the Biden administration has not only reached out to North Korea saying, we can talk anytime, any place, and we're prepared to put everything on the table. But we've also reached out to China, because China has that influence, if you will, the leverage on North Korea, saying, China, why don't you convince North Korea to come to the table and sit down with the United States so we could talk about denuclearization, but also giving North Korea the security assurances and a path to lifting, if you will, the sanctions and a path to normal relations with the United States. So yes, we have reached out. We've reached out to certainly South Korea. We've encouraged South Korea to have inter-Korean dialogue, a robust dialogue, to include, if you will, providing humanitarian and economic assistance to North Korea. So yes, the U.S. is pursuing not only bilateral with North Korea, but working with our ally, certainly South Korea, but with our partners in other countries like China to reach out to North Korea. So there is a full court press on this, Chris, but heretofore North Korea has not been responsive. Personally, I believe they've not been responsive because they've been so preoccupied with COVID-19, with the drought. They've had flooding. They have significant malnourishment. There's some reports about some areas where there's food scarcities that could lend itself to starvation in certain areas. This would be a throwback to the late 90s when we saw significant, if you will, starvation, where we're talking up to 1 million people dying of hunger because of the lack of food. So we're not there. I don't think it's that dire at this moment, but the economic issues have really focused Kim Jong-un's attention fully. So we're seeing less from Kim Jong-un on some of the strategic issues, with the exception of now this launch, these two launches of a cruise missile. It's really North Korea telling us we're looking at our economic situation, despite the fact that it's very dire, and we're going to work on that. But we're also continuing with our nuclear so-called deterrent. That's the term, nuclear deterrent. And we're becoming even more sophisticated to show the United States and others that we are not a paper tiger, that we are a nuclear weapon state that has to be dealt with.
Ambassador DeTrani, thank you so much for lending us your insight and your very deep experience on this issue. Your expertise is helping us to become a little bit more knowledgeable and experts on our own on a very important issue to the United States, to the Asian region, to be sure, and the world. I'd like to thank our generous sponsors who make this possible, and thank you, Ambassador DeTrani,
Chris.
for spending some time with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.